go. Okay. Hi. So this is Fosdem. This is a distribution dev room. Thanks Joe for organizing the room over these 2 days. So I'm Lunar. I've been using Debian for more than 10 years. I became a Debian developer in 2007. These days, I'm very active in the Tor project and mainly focused on that, but I'm still trying to do work for Debian. Today, I'm going to talk about reproducible builds for Debian because this is a distribution I know and that's what I studied, but it's also a huge project that would need cooperation from probably all distributions, and maybe others are willing to also jump into the wagon. So we'll see what happens. So what are reproducible builds? Reproducible builds is the idea is that multiple people using different computers in different places could, from a same source package, do the build process and get exactly the same binary packages out of the source, bit by bit identical, like same checksum. Why do we want to do that? My main focus on this is to prevent targeted attacks. It's way much easier to put a malware on one computer than on 1 million. Because if that one computer is the one of the Debian developer doing the build, or maybe the Debian build daemon, then you get a window where you can insert a malware into a package that will be installed in many different boxes. Like Debian, our installation base is huge, and it's going to be tricky to actually figure that there is this malware, because usually when we do security audits, we do that on the source code, especially given that we do free software and we have the source code. So we rarely study the actual binary and prove that the binary matches the source code. With independent parties reproducing the build, we can get some good level of assurance that actually the build systems are not compromised themselves. It's also interesting, like sometimes you want to, if you have a reproducible build, it means that if the first time you built, you forgot to, you didn't include the debugging symbols into the binary package, then you can get them built after a while and use that to debug after the initial shipment. And also for Debian, it's useful because of the multi-arc. In Debian now you can co-install packages that are on from different architectures, but you need to have all the data files need to be exactly the same. So it also is interesting for this project. For me, my interest into reproducible builds started with actually the work that has been done by Mike Perry inside the Tor project. Which is also work that has been done before as part of the Bitcoin community. Like Bitcoin people wanted to have reproducible builds because they were handling money, and people were very eager to know that the source code they were seeing were matching the binary. And so Mike Perry did build on that, and we now, for the Tor project, ship the Tor browser bundle, which is the easiest way to use Tor, is built in a reproducible manner. This means that we have multiple developers in different areas all doing the same build and ensuring that the result match. it's not a new idea. It's absolutely not a new idea. Well, after started the project, I got an email from Martin Uker, which told me like, yeah, we had this discussion in 2007, like 6 years ago. And I'm not sure how much he was knowledgeable with Debian processes, because but he suggested that we should actually do that have identical reproducible builds. Unfortunately, the reaction was not super enthusiastic. Like Neil Williams, for example, didn't really like understood why. Or you had Manoj, who said they would like be infeasible, technically. So I wasn't aware of that, and I was like super enthusiastic with Mike's work on the Tor project, and I was like, we need that for Debian. And so last minute at the last Debian conference in Switzerland, we made Birds of a Fever, like small meeting. And I was like surprised, like 30 people or more came, and were like all interested into the project. And so we discussed what was the right approach and how we could do things and the various problems. And it was like 45 minutes really well spent, I hope. And this led us to actually kick off the wiki page where like we have all the project status. So, I mean, probably something happened, some Edward Snowden thing, I don't know. But like from 2007, where like people were very unenthusiastic from Martin Uker's suggestions to that buff, it was like really, I think things have changed. So how do you do reproducible builds? Actually, three things. It's kind of simple. I mean, first thing is that you record the build environment. The idea is that you record like the compiler, the rest of the system. You record what was used initially to perform the build. Then when you want to reproduce, you just need a way to actually recreate that initial build environment. And the last part is that to have build systems that do not capture things that they should not capture from the environment. They should not have variations that are not like tied to the source code. So recording the build environment is actually, on Debian it's kind of, we don't have a proper tool, but we have already ideas on how to do it. There is something called DH build info, which is actually record the environment, but put the information in binary packages and not in source packages. But I mean, basically the problem is not really hard. It's then a matter of discussing where putting this information makes more sense, more sense. Reproducing the build environment is also, I mean, we still need someone to hack a proper script, like hack pbuilder or sbuild to do that, but we have a service that is called snapshot.debian.org, which is awesome because we have an archive of every single binary packages that ever went through the archive for several years. So if the build environment requires a specific version of GCC, then we can get it from Snapshot. So the idea is that, so the question is, do we need to store the name of the packages in this version, or do we need to store the actual binary of the compiler, for example? For Debian, we just need to store the version and the name of the package, because we have Snapshot, and because also we want people to be able to reproduce the whole chain in the end, maybe. And then you have the thing that is more like painful is the various like variations that are coming inside, like from the build systems themselves. So timestamps are captured, like the current time, build paths, the file order, the local, many different things. I think I've not seen them all yet. To quickly run around is like gzip, for example. I'm not sure if you know, but by default it stores the timestamp of when the zip was made. Why? No need to. So we need to pass the flag that says to gzip, do not record the timestamp. All archives, almost, like R, tar, zip, jar, they all store also timestamp, which most of the time is not useful information, and prevent like the second time when we try to reproduce, then we have a different time, right? So the archive is created with a different time, and we have a variation that is not needed. JavaDoc writes timestamps on a comment that is hidden in the HTML page. So if you're a developer, really I told you, I'm yet to find a convincing use case for storing the time of your build in a binary package. I mean, for a JavaDoc, what you're interested into is to know which version of the software it is, which like I don't know, reference to the git head commit, but not the time. I can build an old version now, and then I get like a new, and it's all like it's, you know. Please don't do that, please. Can we go to the questions later? I'd rather go to the end. Also, one thing that I discovered is painful is that some build system encode the build path, which directory the build happens. And one of them is the dwarf files, like debug symbol for health, you know. And they have like these fields like DW80 name and DW80 comdir that encode the build path, which is also like an unneeded source of variation because, for example, in Debian, we don't need that information. When you have a binary package, the source is lost, and there's no point in storing an arbitrary path in the binary package. One fun thing is the file order problem. So when you use reader on directory, sometimes you will get like ABC, but sometimes you can get CAB, depending on the order you actually initially they have been written, or the file system mood of the day, or so basically. And some build systems they just do like, for example, you know, all the files from this directory. And then you get a different archives because the file has different order or different listing file or plenty of those. Solutions is really simple, like you just sort the output. But it needs to be done. You have fun things with local. For example, if you are like in the C local and you have accented letters like French things, then that's at the end. And if you go to the French local, then the A accent grave is like after the A. So also that's a source of variations that needs to be sorted out somewhere. You also have some build system that encode like a host name, the uname output, the username. Plenty of fun. One way to solve all these variations is to cheat. This is the way we do for the Tor browser bundle and like Gitian and also like Bitcoin and other projects. You use a VM. When you use a VM, you have a standard VM. You ensure they use the same kernel, it uses the same username, it uses the same build path, it uses the same host name. Like you squash all these variations just by using a VM. And the other trick you can use is called libfake-time. And libfake-time is a LG preload library that will like fake calls to get time of day. It became like super more advanced recently. Now the last addition was a mode where you can actually record a file where with every single get time of a day initial code, and they're like the time that is returned, and then replay that the next time. So I mean, you can cheat, that works, but we decided at the BOF, at the DebConf, that we would take the hard path because we're Debian and we try to do things right. I think. But the idea is that we're going to patch things. We're going to configure the toolchain and patch the toolchain. For example, like we should have a default option that would be like javadoc ---- no timestamp, maybe, and you know, patch the actual system so they would pass the -n option to gzip, so we'd not record the timestamp. All these little changes that would make package reproducible without having the need to use a VM, so that you could use any Debian system and just run a script like you do normally to build a package and boom, reproduce. So I have result. We did some experiments using EC2 VM instances from Amazon Web Services, which is usually used to do a large-scale archive rebuild. Like to try, I don't know, last rebuild that was done was to try, for example, CLang. Try building Debian with CLang instead of GCC and see how it goes. So we have this infrastructure that was partly done by Lucas Nussbaum, and also these days it's maintained by David Flores, which was really helpful. Thank you, David. And so the idea is that we're going to build and then rebuild the very same package and see if we get a similar result or not. So how we do that? We build the package twice. And so the build process is standard as build, which means we set up a clean root, we unpack the source code, we install the build dept, and we build. And we do that again, like we set up a clean root, we unpack source code, we install build dept, and we build. And the only small difference we do between the two builds is that we pass the timestamp of the first build to dpkg through an environment variable. Like just to say, okay, first package was built that epoch. And this means that in this context, we have two variations out of the list that I've made. We have time, and we have the build path. Both are different from the first build to the second build. There's no changes in the host name, the username, new name, file order, probably local. But it's still like time is the and build path seems like the hardest from what I've seen so far. To perform the experiment, we installed 3 custom packages in the chroot. One is dpkg, so we get a single timestamp for every file in the archive. Instead of like having multiple calls to get time of day, we only have like a single timestamp for every file in the archive. And we reuse the very same timestamp if it's coming from the environment variable. dpkg has been also modified to put files in the archive in stable order. So we always get A, B, C. There's a change to deb helper, which modified the hstrip. The hstrip is part of the deb helper that takes care of debug files. And we use debug edit to mangle the build path that usually gets encoded into the debug symbols. And we also need to change, because debug edit is not able to work with indirect strings in dwarf files, but I'm not going to get into the details. We have another options to pass to the C compiler. And we also have binutils, which has been rebuilt with a configure option, which is ---- enable deterministic archives, which means that AR is going to drop timestamp by default. So that's only 3 packages, 3 small patches. And so I mean, the thing is still running, but last time I checked, which was yesterday evening, we had like over 5,000 source packages and 3,196 out of the 5,151 were actually identical. For those who don't want to be the math, that's 62%. The first try we did was 24. I actually couldn't believe it. That's awesome. So Manoj said it was technically infeasible. I really now believe the contrary. Some of them, like for those who worked, like sorted by popcorn, you have find-utils, debug-get, busybox, plenty of those. And for the failures that I tried to sort out, which one, like why there was some package failing. So that was from 10 p.m. to midnight yesterday. So sorry for the rawness of the thing, but so most of them have still like build ID mismatch, which means some problem with the build path that gets encoded into the debug symbol one way or another. Debug edit was written by Red Hat. Initially, there's really room for collaboration because this is not a specific problem to Debian at all. There's some unknown that I need to check manually, quite a lot of that. There were like more than 100 of jar files, which saw timestamp in jar file, Java archives. 100 packages are like Haskell, so I need to discuss with Joachim Breitner why is that. PHP packages, we had like a timestamp embedded in the registry. I think we should just get rid of it. There were some documentation issues, probably timestamps also in documentation. There's some weird thing with the Python. One of the Python build systems sometimes put the depends in different orders, but they're the same, so that's going to be easy to fix. Some R-specific language, KDE documentation. There's Mono that I don't know how to deal with too. There were like some dogbook, also timestamps. Perl man pages, also timestamp. Zip files, probably a couple of others. Most of these are like, the good news is that we can probably, for not that much more work, switch to 62% to maybe 80 or something. Or at least that's what I believe when I sorted that out. So yeah, because most of these issues I've listed are probably not Debian specific, and I've seen that other distributions were also interested into doing that. There was a blog a blog post on the security blog from Red Hat to discuss reproducible builds for Fedora. I know that OpenSUSE has something that is called Build Compare that is doing also some kind of reproduction. I'd be interested into figuring out the details. And NixOS is also very, very interesting into doing that. If you don't know NixOS, I suggest you look it up. And I hope like more distributions we get interested in that we can like convince upstream to, for example, remove timestamps from archives more easily, or like share patches if we need to. We'll see how it goes. I'm done.
We have a microphone back here, so if we're going to do any questions, I want to pass the mic around so that they end up on video for the folks playing at home. So who has the first question? There are like 8 million geeks in here and not one question. Come on.
So please check the wiki page, subscribe to it. There's also a mail list if you want to subscribe. Yeah, please.
So at the beginning of your presentation, you said that compromising one host is a danger to get the same binaries. And then you said to solve this issue, we are creating a VM to have the same environment. But who is making this VM? Because if you have a single VM for everyone,
what I want to do for Debian is that we don't have a VM. That's why it's harder to do something.
I'm sorry?
For Debian,
Yes.
the idea is to avoid to create a VM.
Okay.
That's why it's harder, because we need to patch more things.
Okay, thank you.
Keep your hand up so I know where I'm going.
So how confident are you that there aren't any compromised packages in Snapshot?
That at some point, hopefully we will be able to just rebootstrap everything. But that's a different issue. I mean, we need at some point to we need to have the reproducible build system working, and then we can start like ensuring the trust of the whole tool chain. But I mean, both efforts should be done separately.
Could we kill two birds with one stone with when we're dealing with the debug symbols? Because one of the problems I have is that when I'm debugging, I end up installing lots of debug packages, and then I have all of them, the symbols are all over the place, and I have to just do endless substitutes in GDB. We could kill that problem at the same time as making reproducible builds.
Absolutely. This is, I mean, that's why debug edit was written for Red Hat initially. It's because Red Hat has a policy that source packages get into USR/SRC, and so they mangle the dwarf path because then you can just extract the source package and it's going to be right at the right place for GDB to work. So I think we should do that in Debian too. Yes.
Yeah.
Thinking about your problem is if you are generating one binary that have the same signature everywhere, you are not obviously sure that everything is built using the reproducible build. Do you aim at having the same libc everywhere before making your build? Because if you have some loaded libraries on runtime, you have to be sure that also these libraries have the same signature everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, no, we assume that if the initial build was done with libglib 12.4, then if we reinstall like libglib 12.4, then we're going to have the same. I'm not sure I got your question right.
I'm sorry. Your system works if everything on your local system is made using the reproducible builds.
No, it's not. We use standard Debian packages. The idea is to use standard Debian packages.
How can I say that? I understood that your aim is being sure that several developers, almost everywhere in the world, have the same binary signature of one binary that you want to test.
They produce the build system produces an analytical binary for each of them. Yes.
Yes, but this binary will load some libraries, and you have to be sure that all these libraries have also the same signature, unless you are not sure what you are running.
If you want to have trust in the system fully, sure, but it's a gradual process. When we talk about security, it's important to it's always important to have in mind the cost-benefit ratio, right? It's what I said. It's the cost of compromising one system that is going to be a developer system is less than the cost of compromising a million systems. It's the same. Like compromising one Debian package is a problem. It's impairing the trust of the whole verification process. I agree, but it's a gradual approach. As every package that gets reproducible build is something harder to compromise for an attacker. Every one of them, but it's slow, but we're going to get it. I hope.
Also, security related. How can you trust the compiler?
That's also a different problem. That's trusting trust, and some people are working on that. I'm not going to get into the details.
Okay, that was efficient.
I'm not saying this is the solution. I'm saying this is part of the solution.
Hi, I'm involved in building an Android operating system. So during the build process, we actually have Java applications that are signed by a private key and that are then bundled into a whole system image. And my whole problem is how can I bring reproducible builds if I cannot share my private key? So what's the solution to that?
ideally you probably need to have an intermediary step. Like people reproduce everything except the last step. But they have to be able to verify that the only last step that you're only the one able to run, which is encoding the private key, is something that is not going to put malware inside the recipe. But I'd say you have to use special tool in that case. Yes.
So I wondered if you'd done any analysis of what proportion of an actual installed system, how far can you get if you only choose to install reproducible packages? We're nowhere near being able to have a build daemon that contains only reproducible packages.
I sorted the logs at midnight yesterday.
Right.
So I don't have an answer yet, but it's a very interesting question. We should have a metric of that, yes. If someone wants to write a UDD query that would take a list of packages and give us okay, the percent of a build daemon that would be covered by reproducible, this list of packages, that would be awesome. Please do so.
You have already tried it on embedded systems like ARM or something like this. I know there are many problems on CPUs with bugs, and you got so different bytes on different machines with the same source and the same environment.
So we did the build on AMD64. I don't know. I really don't know. I think. It's Debian, but. We have we try to have as little variation as possible between architectures. I hope it will work. I don't know. I haven't tried. Please do so if you can.
Thank you.
Are you planning one day to add a verification process that will verify that the packages, binary packages that are published, they really correspond with the source packages?
So, something we've been discussing in Debian for as long as I've been interested in Debian is the end of binary uploads. So, when a Debian developer uploads a package in Debian, they upload both the source code and the binary for their architecture. That's how it's usually done. The problem is that sometimes they're sloppy and they do not really use the standard build environment, and so they have a binary package that no one can rebuild. I'm not talking about reproducible like identical rebuild, but just rebuild from source. So we've been discussing in Debian for ages to just prevent developers from uploading binary packages at all. Just take the source and then have the build daemon do the binary packages. But then people argued that if we do that, people are not going to test their packages at all. So we should not. What I want to do with this is that developers would not upload the binary packages. They would just put the checksum of the .deb file into the changes, and then the buildee will rebuild and ensure that it matches. And then we have a trust that at least, it's either the buildee has been compromised or the developer system has been compromised. Or if there is a mismatch, or both, but then we're screwed. Does that answer your question? Awesome.
Hello. How close are we to getting these small patches back into Debian? And do you have a rough estimate for when we're going to see reproducible builds, by default out of the box? Are there any barriers or any controversial bits in the patches so far?
I have quite frustrating discussions with Guilhem Jover so far, the DPKG maintainer. I'm not sure he's interested into this at all. So I hope there's going to be enough peer pressure to, and 62%, right? It's not completely crazy idea, we can do it. The patches are, you can review it. I find them okay. The debug thing is more complicated. We need either someone to probably do some changes to debug it to improve it, or to to rewrite debug-edit in another language. I tried to work on debug-edit and I failed. The code is too hard for me. But yeah, I mean, it's doable. I think. At least there is if you want to see, there is if you go on the wiki page, we have a user tag so you can see all the bugs that have been reported so far as part of the Reproducible build project. And every single package maintainer, I said, please, can you take that patch? It's going to make your package reproducible. And they took it. I had no rejection so far, except for the most GPG things. But so I mean, yeah, I hope.
If you guys could work a little harder on asking your questions in the order you are in the room, that'd be really great.
Just want you to get some exercise.
Yeah.
So in Fedora, we have one particular reproducible build problem that I'm not entirely sure is solvable, because what we have is when we build our live images or our ISO images, these are all coming from pre-built packages. Really, the only thing that's being done is that they're being turned into an ISO image. And one of the things that we've identified every once in a while, since we're always pushing on the edges of what you can fit on a disk, we discovered that there's a drive geometry problem that we hit, where actually creating the ISO image, the same exact set of packages with the timestamp faked out, will still sometimes produce a package that is one sector larger. Because of the way the drive the sectors on the disk line up.
Right.
So how do you work around that?
That's a very good question. I hope you find out. I mean, this is going to be a collective effort, or it's not going to happen, right? I mean, the adversary is the NSA or something as big as the NSA, right? So I mean, everyone together.
Who's next? Anybody?
What Debian release are you focusing your efforts on? Is it general?
And it's development work. It's unstable. I mean, the process of getting changes like that into Debian is you get as many packages as you can to fit the scheme you want, and then you propose a change to the Debian policy. But you want proposing a change to the Debian policy before you get 95 or 90% is going to be hard. And then also there is the release goals. But I'm not aiming to have Debian reproducible at least on a large scale before at least 2 major releases. I think 4 or 5 years is not, I think, crazy given the amount of small amount of change that needs to be done, and for how many people needs to be involved. Unless someone is working full-time on this for a year, and then we can get much faster. But, right.
May I ask another question? How do you store the build environment settings? You said that you wanted to store them either in the source package or in the
So my
binary.
idea is to store them in the .changes file, which is the listing of the binary packages and source packages with the checksum. It's a description of an upload, basically. And I think we could just stick in there. And
So, I mean, I know that Debian people will know where to, talk about this kind of thing in Debian, but people from other distros, is there a mailing list or something that they should sign up to? There's a wiki page there, but is there more than that?
So we have a reproducible build main list at Alioth. It's listed in the very top of the wiki page. I'd be happy to see more people from other distros who subscribe and we exchange ideas or problems on the main list. I don't have, no. But if we have enough discussion here, maybe we come up with something. Or I don't know. I mean, the Debian main list have very, very low traffic at the moment, so if that's not if it's okay for everyone to be on the Debian main list, then just join this one. Thank you. Yeah.
Considering that you can't hear.
Thanks.
considering you can't build everything reproducible, like for example non-free, will there be like a section or a tag
you can
where you can
non-free. Non-free can be reproduced. It's not going to be fully reproducible from source. Or maybe it's going to be reproducible from source, you can audit, but you can't change.
Okay, but assuming there will be a few packages which can't be reproduced to a certain state, will there be a system that you can choose your system, just get packages we can build reproducible?
I mean, we could have a dep tags and we could use things like that, but my hope is that we get everything reproducible. I don't see a reason that we can't come to that. Because, for example...
But it takes much longer to get everything reproducible, and in the meantime, you could have a system which is already has this adjective.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's only the beginning. If you want to come with patches and stuff, please join us.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
It's just a suggestion to the other guy. Maybe we could have a non-reproducible archive, like the non-free archive, at some point, potentially.
I mean, it's Debian, right? It's large. It's easier to push large-scale changes in a small fashion. And discussing major change as small is harder than to prove that, yeah, we can do it and just do it.
If I understood correctly, you have today one platform at Amazon that does the job. And
we did one experiment.
Yes.
It's all.
And my question is, maybe by your experience, are you afraid of discovering a new hidden factor that puts your 62 into 10% because you have made some assumption on this platform, but making another platform elsewhere?
So the platform we use is S-build. So it's the standard way that Debian packages are automatically built at the moment. So I mean, that's the target, right? At least for me, that's the target.
How you want to protect external kernel modules that are built at the machine directly. So I don't think there's a solution for that, or is that right?
I don't understand.
You can.
I understood what you meant. Like you can load kernel modules and then
you have external modules with DKMS or something like that you build at the host machine. You can't protect that, or
right, so. But you can protect that the source code has not been tampered before being delivered to the user. I mean, that's already something.
We have about 5 more minutes, so probably about 2, maybe 3 more questions, depending on how efficient the questions are. Right there.
So you said you could, there's the dep tag that if you put a dep tag reproducible builds, maybe some people will start using it and want to contribute and to fix the last package they depend on, and you would get more developers at the end?
Yeah, maybe. But we're not. I mean, we're not there yet. I mean, we have patches. So how can I say that? The question about how far we are like getting these patches in Debian is very relevant, because basically my situation right here, like having this result, is that I want to discuss again with Guilhem and other DPKG developers what is the proper patch to get into DPKG. And if we have a disagreement on it, I want to run it by the tech committee. And if the tech committee says that we can't have this kind of patches into DPKG, and that the DPKG developers won't have patches like this, then I'm going to stop this effort at all. Because, I mean, you can't go against the will of a project. But the idea now is like to get more people involved. Like all these reports, they need to be sorted. They probably, all of these, there are patches that can already be written and submitted, and probably are going to be accepted from many tools. Like if people want to hack on jar, like the jar tool, if people want to hack on Javadoc, if people want to hack on epidoc, if people want to hack on debug.it, if people want to hack on Mono software, on OCaml software, on Erlang software, on PHP, all these are not right now reproducible, and they should be. So there are like plenty of work that we can do wherever or not, and that is going to also benefit everyone in the free software community, is it Debian or not. So just, yeah, there's work to do, and it's going to be quite interesting.
Do you expect any specific problems with the kernel packages, or is it just another package?
So the good thing is that some people quite external to the Debian distribution, but I've been trying to guide them a little bit. They have a project called Mempo, and they've been working on reproducing the kernel, and they have a few patches for the kernel already. I hope they will be able to push them upstream. I haven't looked at their work that much yet, but I know they have a package that contains Debian source, GR security, and that can be reproduced in their environment. So.
One more. Or we're done. Okay, great.
Okay, one last thing. Please come talk to me if you're interested in this. I'll be at the Tor project corner of the Mozilla booth for the next 2 days. Please.
Thank you very much.